Welcome everyone to xFigura Frameworks V1.0. And with this webinar, we're going to be specifically focusing on the kind of custom software xFigura, which you'll learn about all here if you don't know about it already, um, as well as some Rhino and Unreal. And this webinar is being taught by Daniel Escobar, who is the head of research at xFigura.AI. Daniel is an architect and computational designer working at the intersection of AI, narrative, and spatial design. His work explores how generative AI and computational systems can expand architectural concept design, world building, and immersive experiences. He is the co-founder of the Fusion Architecture, a platform dedicated to the dissemination and critical exploration of AI in architecture and design. Daniel's research and creative work have been published in leading academic venues, including Acadia and Cadria, with a focus on integrating generative AI into architectural workflows. He has taught and presented internationally on AI-driven design methodologies and creative computation. His work has been exhibited at the Seoul Light Festival, the Busan Museum of Art, and the 2025 Venice Biennale, where his project is for computation and speculative spatial futures. And this is also a webinar which is in collaboration with xFigura, which is an AI-powered all-in-one ideation platform for architects and designers, acting as a collaborative digital canvas to quickly generate, refine, and visualize 2D and 3D concepts using generative AI, allowing workflows from text and image to 3D models and even cinematic videos, speeding up design from hours to minutes. So, once again, welcome, Daniel. We're so happy to have you, and we'll hand it over to you.
Awesome. Th Thank you so much, Mike, for that. And again, thanks to everybody that joined. Glad to have you guys here. And today's going to be interesting. I'm going to go over a few things that I've been working on, as well as a little bit of an intro into where AI and architecture and design workflows is being used. So to provide a little bit of context on that. I'm going to go get started. Mike, I'm going to share my screen.
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay, cool. Uh, Let me share here. Okay, let me know if you see that.
Yep, all good. We see it.
Okay, perfect. Like Mike already said, architect, creative designer, co-founder of Diffusion Architecture, and leading research at xFigura. And welcome, guys, to the xFigura Frameworks Workshop. So what is xFigura? So it is a collaborative platform. It's a canvas that connects generative AI models into one canvas that you can share with your colleagues and specifically to generate concepts and any sort of media related to architecture. Okay, so this is a little bit about me. If you haven't seen my picture already. And maybe just a little bit of what do I do? So a little bit of background on my context and a little bit of how I arrived where I'm at right now. So I have done previous architecture work, a lot of work related to computational design, Grasshopper, Rhino, speculative futures, and so forth. So this is a little bit about previous projects that I worked on. Here's are more a little bit more speculative projects that I work with the team OLA, which stands for Online Lab of Architecture. This was some projects that we developed collaboratively during the pandemic, some with competitions that we won some funding for to keep developing into VER, speculative futures, and metaverse platforms. And this was done with Joanna Pillaca, Jennifer Duran, Jose Mintivilla, and Claudia Garcia. And then this is a little bit of some research that I also explored throughout the year. Something that I found interesting was the application of generative AI, specifically 3D generative AI, into architectural workflows. And with the advancement of generative AI over the last couple of years, I've been quite interested, alongside with George Gita and Carlos Navarro, of exploring how these tools can be framed and essentially used inside of design workflows, early stage concept, visualization, generative modeling, and how do we benefit from current developments in like AI research, and how do we apply them to architecture in a creative approach. So this was part of a paper that we wrote on a bit of research of how do we use in 2023 something called Instant NGP, which is essentially a nerve. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but it's essentially a AI model that can reconstruct 3D models from a set of images. So a little bit like photogrammetry, but using neural networks. So this is a little bit of the project. I'll go a little bit kind of through this diagram, but the idea is that you'll be able to take a 3D model, apply textures, and then reconstruct the 3D model using those textures, and the textures were generated through generative AI, or you can use an image as reference. And the idea was to develop kind of like a workflow that includes, at that point in time, the latest models, which was a little bit of early runway and early stable diffusion. And then this project here, this is kind of interesting because this was a little bit of the beginning of generative AI becoming a little bit mainstream. So this was done in collaboration with Ricardo Cesar Rodriguez, Fabio Alzate Martinez, and Mayur Mistry. And here, this was, I would say, in 2021, the early stage of diffusion models. Um, and one of the things that we were exploring here was, can we use image to image mapping? Essentially, can we use sketches to generate images out of it, and even small video clips? So this was kind of like some of the work at the time in 2021. And this was, I would consider like state of the art at that point. It obviously has come a long way. So I think it's interesting to show this work because of the contracts that it's going to provide with what we're seeing today. At this point in time, a lot of the workflows here uh, had to be done in code. So there was no LLMs, there was nothing of that. So everything had to be coded. We used Google Colab as a platform to run these codes because at that point in time we had free GPUs. Um, but what's interesting about this is that it's this area or this field of generative AI has been around for quite a bit, probably around since like 2014, I would say. And it's taken a little bit over 10 years to get to the maturity that we're seeing today and we're accustomed to seeing on mainstream media now. Okay. These are also a little bit other types of works that I explore. It's a combination of animation, digital art, reconstruction, and this work explore with my partner Joanna Pillaca some things that we've done for exhibitions and other contests that we explore in relationship to culture and 3D reconstruction. And here is the platform that I've been working on, that I started essentially with Giovanna since the first Mid-Journey came about. It's called Diffusion Architecture. And the original intent of this platform was, at the time when the first Mid-Journey arrived, well, let's record how artists and architects are going to start using this tool. So, and you can kind of see a little bit here at the bottom, the original images from like 2022 of Mid-Journey in the type of architecture, speculative architecture that people were generating, and how now we see this highly realistic photographic architecture that is almost indistinguishable from a build project sometimes. So it was very interesting to collect essentially all these evolutions and how people started using it and how people were excited at that point in time to explore this tool as a way to design or imagine new forms, concepts that can then be uh, exposed to the world and to the imagination of others. And I guess thanks to this trend, we were able to build quite a following, and we still post to this day, and try to keep some of the most interesting posts and creative artists that are doing essentially that are perfecting a little bit of this craft of prompt engineering for architectural design. Okay, so that was a little bit about me, just to give you a little bit of context where I come from. Um, Now let's get started with the workshop. Um, Thanks to xFigura, we actually created a discount code, 30% on the starter, a professional plan. So if you guys want to try it, here is the code. I can also copy it onto the chat. And then I'm going to give a little bit of intro after this of how to use the platform as well. Uh, so this is for the guys that joined. So thank you so much, guys, for joining. So feel free. And then now I'll give you a little bit of intro about what xFigura is and why we made it. Okay, give me one sec. Okay. And feel free to ask any questions like as they come up. I'll be looking at the chat. Okay. So this is for you. So maybe a little bit, if anybody wants to write in the chat, um, how much do you know about AI? Are you familiar with xFigura? You can just write in the chat here. Okay, cool. So yeah, so Walter is familiar. I had seen some work. Okay, awesome, cool, nice. Yeah. Okay, cool. Hi, June. Cool. All right, awesome. So it seems like some people are familiar with it. Maybe have used it before or seen the videos on social media. Okay, awesome. And some other people I'm not familiar. Okay, cool. So there's a range of people that are familiar. Okay, so this is good because I'm gonna give a little bit of an introduction of some context of like general AI, and then we're gonna dive into the platform. The platform is pretty straightforward and easy to use, and I'll go through it step by step so you guys get familiar with it. Okay, cool. So maybe some of you have heard like Comfy UI and things like that. Nice. Okay, awesome. Are you awesome? Cool. Okay, so maybe now a little bit of where are we in like AI tools in practice. So this is to provide a little bit of a context or where we are. So uh, there's a technological evolution. This is a diagram from Phil Bernstein. He wrote a book called The Machine Learning Architecture in the Age of AI. And a little bit about this is that we have seen how in early, I guess before CAD or before BIM, I'm sure you guys are familiar with like CAD and Revit and so forth, if you work in architecture. But before that, everything was analog. So you're using pen and paper. Then CAD came about. So you have computers where you now can draft plans, lines, and that essentially speeds up the process a little bit of how you would do architecture. But there were still some limitations at that point in time. And then BIM, building information modeling came about, and that allows to go just beyond the lines, let's say on a screen, where you can insert metadata into an actual 3D component, and now it becomes like a database for an architecture project where you have wall thicknesses, wall materiality, and any sort of parameter that you can relate when you're gonna do documentation for architecture. So that opens up another area, which becomes important at that time that we are now, which is now that we had all this data from BIM in one database, we can apply AI and ML on top of that. And the reason is that AI and ML is data hungry. So being able to access a database in a BIM model serves really well for current AI native approaches. This includes LLMs, if anybody's familiar with LLMs like ChatGPT, Claude, that can access and read and write text. This serves really well to be able to communicate with BIM data. And then the future is obviously is still out there, but the idea is like eventually we could have artificial general intelligence, which would be a super smart AI that can do many things. Um, and this is a little bit of where we are at this point in time. So from 2024 onwards, where you can prompt, get information from BIM models, even generate 3D content. There is currently interfaces with LLMs and Rhino, Grasshopper, where you can prompt inside of the software, and that software can generate Python scripts or any type of code, and you'll be able to get either a 3D model or, I guess in the case of like Revit, you can delete, add parts, add information, and so forth to your BIM model. And the idea here is that as we move up this as we move up to the right in machine capabilities, eventually we can get unguided idea generation and full autonomous design. So it's a very interesting point in time that we're currently on, especially with the availability of digital data since everything has become digitalized. And then the ability to work on these softwares that maintain databases of the projects you work on. The only thing that's kind of happening now is the current integration of AI into those types of workflows and databases. Okay, so this is a little bit of research of some of the tools that currently exist in AAC. This is brought to you by Architag. And you can kind of see a little bit where xFigura falls in under. So we're under the schematic design approach, so concept stage, early development. You have other tools similar like Midjourney, Adobe Firefly, DALL-E, Leonardo. Maybe you heard a couple of these. Then you also have design development. So you have tools related like Autodesk, Forma, Cove Tool, and then also 3D design tools. So some of these are essentially like building configurators and that work more with laying out 3D spaces and 3D models. And then you can move into interior design, Canoa, and so forth. And then further down, you start getting into more construction documentation process. So code compliance, documentation generation, floor plans, Revit automations, and so forth. And then bidding and negotiation, which is more a downstream task from design and development. And then construction, which is now more of a physical and monitoring types of approaches and platforms here. So this was a report from the AIA in 2024. Here's like a little bit of a breakdown of a survey that they did on how many people use AI, heard of AI. So in 2024, about 53.1% experimented or tried using AI. So at this point in time, in 2024, you already have LLMs like ChatGPT go mainstream. Midjourney was also pretty popular from an image generation. And then video models like Runway ML are starting to pop up and Google's models as well. So now we're 2025, 2026. Now people are a little bit more accustomed to seeing AI and mainstream models being constantly dropped, either by Google, OpenAI, and all these big companies. Um, so it's definitely growing. People are becoming more aware. People are incorporating it under regular use, whether it's ChatGPT or whether it's like image generation or video generation. So this is definitely a growing trend. Architecture practices. So this was from the REBA report. So AI adoption percentages of practices using AI for at least the occasional project. So 59% in 2024. In 2025, 41% had never used it. So you can obviously see here that this trend is increasing, and I'm sure most of you are probably using it in a day-to-day basis, whether it is for coding, or generating text or content. So this is definitely a growing trend as well in architectural practices. Where are we today? So this is a little bit of where some of the use cases fall under. So top is chatbots. So this is a little bit more familiar to everybody. Being able to go to ChatGPT and just tell it what you want, and it'll provide you with text, image generators, grammar, text analytics, transcription, meeting assistance, video generators, design and planning tools, 3D modeling, and content generators, and AI project management tools. And recently also audio and music. It's very becoming like another area that's becoming really interesting to watch for. Um, so this is a little bit of the breakdown of where we are. Okay, tools in practice. So one of the critical things to know about LLMs is that essentially these large models in general are huge black boxes in the sense that they're so large in the number of hyperparameters, which means that it's very hard to decipher how the model works. Um, a lot of this also stems by the way of how neural networks work, that as they grow in scale, the more internal hyperparameters a model has, the harder it is to decipher why a decision was made. There's also this idea that the models hallucinate. It's not necessarily a bug. It's a feature that's part of the actual model and how it works as a probability-based generation approach, where it selects the highest probability of what's the output based on an input. So sometimes that margin where you can get an answer that might seem right, it has a percentage, and you sometimes might get an answer that's wrong. And that also has a percentage. But over time, over the last couple of years or so, they become a lot better. Research labs like OpenAI and Google have developed methods that tackle this problem, and essentially have led the models to become a little bit better at being able to provide better answers and more and less hallucination. 2025 was the year of agents, and a little bit of what an agent is essentially being able to give, it can be an LLM, and being able to give it some tools, a memory, and the ability to plan. And the user can provide it a task or a request, and the agent will autonomously, using tools, the planning, and memory, be able to complete that task. And this is kind of interesting because this is essentially the next step from just a simple chatbot or LLM. And if you guys have tried maybe the latest ChatGPT, probably from last year, where it's able to plan or provide you with the steps as to how it's gonna continue carrying forward whatever you ask it to. So they call it a little bit of reasoning, right? So it's able to think through the task and figure out an answer that makes a lot of sense. So this adds new capabilities of how these types of AI tools can be incorporated in day-to-day workflows. And also it expands the amount of infrastructure and let's say, touch points that they can be incorporated into like software or any other exterior workflows that you may have as an office or as a personal project. So another aspect of this is that if you have an agent and you needed to make autonomous decision, you can have an agentic RAG model. And what a RAG model is, it stands for is search and retrieval. So one of the things that a RAG model does, it can take a set of information. So if you have a database and it's able to look through it and be able to extract a specific information or relatable information on on what the user queries. What's interesting about that is that it opens up a whole way and a whole different approach to interact with data that you might own, whether it's like on your Google Drive or like if you have company data. Because if you already have this existing data, this becomes a way to dig through it in a much faster and exploratory way versus like going through each folder. So you can directly query data just by asking a question, and the model is going to be able to return some summary or something specific about what you ask about that data. So this opens up even new opportunities of how to use these types of models just beyond simple text generation. Here's a little bit example where you can do an expert search. So if you have a question about document data, you can ask the model, provide me with an answer specifically about some requirement or some like rules, regulations. Maybe it's about hospitals and so forth. And the model will provide you with a summary of what it found, and then it can give you like the sources of the data that it looked through and the top sources that it looked through to give you that information. So this becomes really useful as a way to track down information as well as to discover something that you're looking for. Okay, and now move a little bit from this. Um, And these are a little bit of some examples on RAG models and how they can be used as a search and retrieval approach. So you can use it for design and technical documentation, past drawings, specifications, codes and guidelines, memos, drawings, also for like reports, let's say lead, carbon analysis, performance data, knowledge and precedent analysis, project delivery, proposals, contracts. So all these documents can live inside of a one database, and you'll be able to talk to them using an LLM. Okay. Here's another example of that. So what is this let's say have to say about sustainability strategy? And then it'll provide you with an answer based on what it has seen from your documents. Okay. And you can also use it for documentation related to details. Okay. And then maybe I'll dive a little bit here. I'll go a little bit faster here, but this is MCP, which stands for Model Context Protocol. The basic concept behind this is that if you're able to use an LLM to chat directly with the software that you're using, in this case is Revit, the Model Context Protocol is essentially a standard. It's a server that you can create locally that runs to be able to query the software's SDK, which just means like the software's API. So you can communicate directly with the software and chat with it as you go along. So this becomes really useful in some cases where maybe you can use an LLM as a co-pilot or as a way to interact with the software directly. Okay, and here's another example of that, interacting with Rhino. Okay. Uh, Now stop here. Maybe I'll move a little bit into uh, some image generation context, and then we can get started a little bit with the platform. So, if anybody has heard of Nano Banana, Nano Banana is the latest image model available from Google. And here's a little bit of an example of the abilities that it can do just from one single model. And I think what you're going to be seeing from now on in the future is that a lot of these models that are called foundational models, which means that they're trained on large amounts of data and they essentially develop emergent abilities, like being able to do these specific tasks. So that can include change lighting, remove people, change or add material, change camera angle, change style, and all via prompt. Uh, so now, I guess over the last year or so, we go from like more static models where you're maybe just prompting and trying to hope to see that the model does what you do to now being more instruction driven, which means essentially that you can tell it exactly what you want the model to do. And the model has a reasoning backend, which means it has an LLM that is thinking and analyzing the input that you give it as a instruction, and it's able to like reason about the image and be able to do exactly with much more precision any changes or modifications you want to. And this is essentially where we are now at the cutting edge. So this is really interesting, and this opens up a lot of applications in architecture and any other, essentially any other field that can use this type of media. Okay, so give me one sec. Okay, so this here is a little bit of that, just a little bit of more detail so you can kind of see you have an input image, you can change cladding material into a golden bronze, and the model knows that inherently like what to modify. So this is really super cool because it lets you have the direct control. You don't have to worry about tweaking so much of specific parts of the image or being having like to apply a mask or any kind of other sort of conditional uh, constraints. So the model just works on that part. So this is like really super useful now. Here's another example of that. And here's a little bit more of the approach of video models where now you can take some of these images and generate full videos that maintain consistency. So this has happened over the last year or so where like now you get really consistent video generations, whether it's like for 5 seconds or 10 seconds. But now we're getting to the point where you can trust the model to generate something that is more static, that doesn't modify any of the elements that you generate from an image. And this also opens up another set of possibilities, either for storytelling, narrative, or being able to explore concepts in a more three-dimensional way. Here's a little bit of example of that. And now we have new features where you can, for video models, where you can start from a frame, have an end frame, and blend the two scenes. So now you can begin to develop types of workflows that let you explore more three-dimensionality with more design control and more intent. Here's another example of that. And then recently, more developments have come in like world models. There's a recent model called Genie 3 that lets you create an environment, essentially a 3D environment that you can interact with it. And I'll show you guys a little bit about that actually. That's part of the workshop. We have integrated this type of world models into xFigura by World Labs, where you can use an image and generate a 3D environment out of that. So we'll be showing that in a little bit. So here you can kind of see on the left side that you can have essentially controls like move right, look, keep walking, and the AI is generating this essentially real-time control on the 3D scene, which is fascinating because we are now moving into another territory beyond just generative video models where you can actually step into the scene and begin to control it in a generative way. So every pixel that's being generated can actually be controlled by a user, and this allows for a wider range of explorations in pixel space. Okay. And in relation to architecture, these are other tools that are currently developing and using AI. Upcodes, this is more for documentation and code analysis. Autodesk Forma, Infrared City, which is more for environmental and climate analysis, and Finch, which is for floor plan generation using graph-based methods and some ML as well. Okay, and this is something that we believe at xFigura. So today a tool, tomorrow a collaborative agent. Architects will not be replaced. The architectural profession needs to evolve. Okay, and I'll stop here to see if anybody has questions. Okay, if there's no questions, let me move on. Give me one sec. Okay, so now I'm just gonna give a little intro into like the xFigura platform before we dive into and start actually collaborating inside of the platform. And then after I give this little intro, we can take a 5-minute break, and then we'll come back and we actually we'll go through the xFigura platform. We can open it up. I'll share a link of the platform so you guys can hop in into the board that I created, and then we'll move on from there. And then finally, after that, we'll be able to bring in a world model that will generate and bring it in into Unreal Engine. And I'll also show you guys how to create a character and be able to use the character that you generate so you can walk around with it in Unreal Engine. Okay, so let me share this again. Okay. Uh, okay, so xFigura, its mission is to empower architects, designers, and creative teams with AI native tools that enhance, not replace human creativity. So this is a little bit of a brief video of how the platform works. It's a node-based platform, collaborative, where we integrate all models from image generator models to video models and 3D generation models. We also have integrations for 3D software that are coming up in the pipeline, as well as other connections to 3D software like Speckle that you can essentially bring in a 3D model and then use it inside of a generative pipeline workflow. So here's an example of that. So you can idea, create, and then collaborate with your colleagues. And it's a canvas or an infinite expandable canvas that you can essentially build a graph of these pipelines and be able to use them as generative workflows for any project. Here are some of the users and collaborations that we currently have. We work with some of the top firms that are currently using the platform and some universities. We have also taught some workshops at some of these universities. And these are our leading design architecture firms that are currently using this product. So what is xFigura trying to solve? Essentially, the current space of AI is that you have many different companies working on different areas or different specific types of foundational models. You have anything from Runway, Midjourney, Google, pretty much all companies that are now uh, um, becoming the specific developers for a specific media or tool. So in the case of Runway, like video generation is their thing. Midjourney, image generation is their thing. And Nano Banana, which is also image generation. We also have like the LLMs like ChatGPT and Claude. So the idea is to pretty much consolidate all these tools and bring it under one platform so you don't have to worry about chasing a whole bunch of other websites or subscriptions. And we keep your data secure and you have the ability to access them within one single canvas. So this is a new process where you have built-in full collaboration. It's built for AEC and it has data security. And then we're coming up with an integration of 3D CAD tools so you can bring them into the canvas and feel that you can essentially build a whole workflow around what you already work with. Here's a little bit of that. You have some of these image tools. So Flux, Photoshop, Comfy, Ideogram, Gemini, Magnifique, XEXL, the video workflows, the Runway, Kling, Google Veo, and then some of the 3D models here, Tripo, Rodin, Meshi, and Hunyang. And these are all now part of the platform, so you can access those directly in there. So it's one platform that combines all these models. We currently have over 50 plus models and more coming soon. And we essentially bring all the latest models on board, all the highest quality models that we can find and bring them all together under one platform. And here's a little bit of the model. So each model has like different capabilities. You can see that some can be used for text to image, image to image, in painting, upscaling images, image to 3D, image to video, and they're based on a credit system. So depending on the type of model, they'll have a set of credits that they would use. And this is how the platform is run on a credit-based system. It's fully collaborative and interoperable. So I talked a little bit about that. Here's some of the workflows that you can do. So a little bit of that. We also have a LoRa training that uses the Flux model. So if you have a set of images, a data set, you can use that to train your own LoRa and then be able to use that LoRa inside of the platform or bring any exterior LoRa's that you might see from Hugging Face or Civita.ai and use them with the Flux model currently in the platform. So here's a little bit of that as well. So you can do image to 3D, relight. We have some agent workflows that we're currently working on, where you would be able to talk to a chatbot and tell the chatbot what type of workflow you would want to use. And the chatbot is going to essentially place the nodes on the canvas, and you'll be able to essentially run those nodes based on the prompt that you gave the chatbot. So it's really interesting because now it goes beyond manual placement of the nodes, but you can have an LLM reason about what is the best workflow according to the tools that we have on the platform. Okay, and here's a little bit more of that. And so you can go from text, image to a video and generate and iterate concepts, upscale and inpaint and modify. Okay. So maybe I'll skip through this and I can show it on the platform. This is a little bit of that as well. So here you can see a specific workflow, how you can use, for example, Flux context, which could take image references and be able to modify an existing image based on your prompt and the image reference that you provided with. So we'll be going a little bit over that. Sorry. Here's an edited workflow. So as you see with the node-based system is that once you start creating the nodes and build like these set of iterations, you can quickly keep going and testing different options until you kind of mold the ideal design intent that you want. Okay. And then here, it's a little bit of how the canvas would look. We have templates, so I'm going to show you guys how to use the templates. And then we'll stop here. We'll take a 5 minute, let's take a 7 minute break. And we'll come back at my time here would be like 10:00, let's say 11:05. And then we'll get started with the canvas and I'll walk through the canvas. If anybody has any questions, comments, feel free to drop it in the chat. I'm looking at the chat. So we'll be back in 11:05. So what is that? 7 minutes from now? Yes, there will be a recording, and I think Mike, you will be able to send that afterwards. Yeah, the image 3D is currently a mesh format. So it's a triangulated mesh format. Uh, you'll be able to import it into any like 3D software. We have several options, like to be able to export it as an OBJ or a GLB. We also have a Rhino export. So you can actually generate the mesh natively in Rhino and download it as a 3DM object and open up the Rhino and be able to get the model. Uh, we don't have uh, a direct link to Grasshopper yet. That would be coming a little bit later this year. Do we need an xFigura? You don't need to sign up. You don't need a subscription. We do have a free open plan that gives you some credits. So you can essentially create like a free account and you'll get, if I'm correctly, 25 credits to try. I'll be able to send, like I have the board here, for example. I'll show you guys this real quick. I have this board. I'm going to share it with you guys so you guys can view it. You don't have to sign up to view it. Okay. Awesome. Okay. Cool. Hey, Christian, I think I think you were from the master's program. Happy to see you here. Okay, okay, guys. So we'll be back in 5 minutes. So oh 05. Hi guys, I'm back. Let's see if there's any questions. Um, okay. Yeah, I'll give it like a minute or two. I'm just gonna see if there's any questions and then we'll hop right in. It seems like on the one hand, it seems clear that AI fosters creativity and this is an important step for AI tools. However, when I see an image with some creativity created using AI, now it seems like we're all just going to say personal. Yeah, that's a good question, Claudio. Like, who is the author? Um, so this is like, I think this is an interesting question that we constantly have, um, because yeah, these models or these AI models that generate images and so forth, they're trained pretty much on everything that they have seen on the internet. So whatever image they've been able to gather from the internet, and connect it with like a text, uh, or pair it with a text that matches the description of the image. That's essentially what makes the training data set, and that's how you can get generative models to essentially respond to a text, and they'll generate pretty much what you inputted, um, and they'll be able to, I guess, generate based or condition on that text something that seems similar. In a way, it does generate similarities. It is trained to generate something similar to what is given as a text. But at the same time, it opens up possibilities of doing things, maybe like editing, and you can also use it for like image generation. But I think what is interesting is that it opens up opportunities for editing that give you control, to speed up processes that maybe you used to have to do in Photoshop back in the day, that would take a long time to do. So it reduces the amount of speed to generate pixels in a controllable manner. I think it becomes also quite a question of ethics, and more of type of a situation in which the content that you generate, uh, if you're the owner, like, do you give credit to the AI, but you still are the one that's crafting the prompt to generate the content. So at the same time, the model's not going to generate content by itself in that case, but you're the one that has the intent, and you can craft the intent and get the output that you want. So you become also the curator. Yeah, I can clarify what an AI agent is. Um, so an AI agent, it's just, for example, if you take an LLM, and let me see if I have a slide for that a bit. Uh, Give me one sec. I'm just gonna see if I can find an example. Mm, Okay, let me. I'll share and I'll go a little bit about what an agent means. Okay. Okay, so a little bit about what an agent is that if you think about the agent is just like a way to define like the overall capability, let's say, of this object. But in reality, an agent can be thought about as like an LLM. So you can replace the word agent with like an LLM. Um, and in this case, you're given that LLM certain additional tools and features. So, for example, a tool can be like a function in Rhino, for example, to create 3D geometry to extrude a surface. Um, Memory is the capability of being able to have, let's say, contacts or uh, the ability to be able to trace back previous history of what it has done. So you maybe have like a mini log where you're logging like all the steps that it's been produced in the past, and the model can access that in some way, right? So you can search through that or be able to pull it in case it needs that information. And planning is, I would say, is a little bit more of what would makes it an agent. And I think agent in this case refers more in the sense of autonomy. So uh, how do you solve tasks in an autonomous way? And planning is essentially that engine that allows the agent to solve those tasks autonomously because it's able to take decisions. So agent, it's able to take decisions on a specific task, and it has created a plan to follow. And as it follows that plan, it's able to make decisions along the way, which makes it an autonomous type of system. And it uses the tools that it has at its disposal to be able to complete that task. Does that make sense? I think that's kind of like one way to think about it. Um, Okay, cool. Okay, awesome. If there's no more questions, then I'll hop in onto the platform now. Okay, so let me show you guys here. Okay, so I'm just gonna show this a little bit. This is a little bit of what I'm gonna be walking through today, and I'll show you how to generate this um, starting from scratch. Uh, but let me just give you like an overview here. So if you can see here, this is the canvas. It's an infinite canvas here. Oh, I see a lot of people join. Oh, why is that there? Let me share this. Okay. So I just shared my canvas with everybody. If not, actually, let me send it again here. Copy link. Oops. Yeah, it should be the same one. Okay. So this canvas here is essentially an infinite canvas. Oh, it's gonna get a lot of people joining at the same time. Um, it's an infinite canvas. It's node based, which means that you have a node that packs a set of functions or a set of features. Each node belongs to a different category. So for example, if I go here, you have a text node, you have the image nodes, you have video node, a 3D node, in-paint node, upscale, and recently we just added World Labs, which is a 3D generative model. Uh, and each node has specific features that you can use. So for example, if I drop the text node here, I can tell it to generate a prompt. So for example, let's say generate a prompt. Yes, you should be able to, as long as you have like you can probably use the if you use the free subscription, you'll be able to do stuff in the canvas. Actually, let me confirm. Does it, the people that have opened up the link, are you guys able to go inside of the canvas and see what I'm seeing? Okay. Yeah, it might be like because I don't know how many people are joining, so it's kind of curious to see. Okay, it's red only. Let me see. So might not. Okay. So you guys should be able to access that now. Okay, cool. So if everybody has, yeah. So I'm just gonna let me know if you guys have any questions. Like, feel to drop them in the chat. I'm looking at the chat on my other screen. Um, yeah, good point, Daniel. Like, it's definitely based on what you craft as a prompt. So that's yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. Okay, cool. All right, so let me just go a little bit of the types of nodes and like some of the features, and then we'll dig a little bit deeper into it. Um, okay, so for example, to generate, like, let's say, like to create a node, you can right click twice on the canvas, and this little menu pops up. So you have here your text node, image node, and so forth. And then you also have some other types of custom nodes that you can use. But for now, we are going to take a look at how it works with a text node because text node has two types of features, and I'll go through that real quick. So in the case of a text node, you can essentially type, we're using Chat GPT-5 Nano, and you can tell it generate a prompt for residential tower inspire, uh, let's see, like coral reefs, for example. Um, so you can pretty much prompt it like a regular LLM. So you can just tell it like what you want to do. You can give it specific instructions, and then you just hit generate. And then it's gonna start running, and then it's gonna give you an output. You can also, for these types of nodes, let's say I want to input this image. Are you always informed before you use credits? Do you mean like when you generate it, like does it automatically tell you the credits? Okay. So maybe I'll go a little bit over that. So your credits here, the credit system here is available here. So you can kind of see like how it is being consumed. Uh, in this case, the LLMs, they don't take as much credit, so you're not going to drop like one credit. As we'll see later on, it's being used for like images. So for example, in the case, let me go to like, for example, one of these. For example, Nano Banana. If you click on this here, you can see how many credits it uses. So Nano Banana uses like 2 credits. But I'll go over a little bit of that. I just want to show a little bit of the functionality of how these nodes works, and then I'll give you like an overview of the dashboard and how when you start, um, like when you first log in into the website, like how you can uh, create projects and so forth. So I'll go a little bit in depth. So for example, in this case, I told it here, oh, I want to generate like a prompt for a residential tower that's inspired by coral reefs. So if you look at this, the LLM generated this prompt, and then we can pass this prompt into another image node. Um, and over here at the bottom, you can see if you hit this, it tells you like what the model, which model it is. how long it might take to generate, and then how many credits it consumes. Here is the settings bar, so you can see the settings bar pops out here on the right side. And there's some features for this node. And then if you click this here on the output, you can toggle, but this works more when you have images, so I'll show you that in a bit. And then there's also a download button, but we don't have to download anything here yet. Okay, so for example, I generated this prompt, and then what I can do, I can pass this as a prompt here to an image node, and then I can select a model from here, and then pick which model I want to use to generate, let's say, based on that prompt. No, you can't. You can't technically. You can't connect to your own ChatGPT account. As far as like the Nano one, the GPT-5, this is a model that we decided to choose because it's like fast and doesn't consume as much credits as you think. Like if you see here, it's actually 0 credits that it uses. Okay. Okay, so once you do that, let's say you have your image node here, and then you pass in into the input prompt, and then you're gonna go here and select the model. You can choose out of any of these models. Let's say I want to do, let's go with a diagram. A diagram is pretty good, or you can use like this Nano Banana one. Then I could just hit generate. And then this is going to take like a few seconds to generate. Okay, and then here you have like that image. And then some of the features of the image node here, for example, you have this here where you can toggle between the prompt and the image. So you can see essentially like the prompt here, and then the output. You also have this expand feature. So you can kind of zoom in and see the image a little bit better, right? And it tells you some information about the image. So this is a 1024 by 1024 pixel. It tells you which base model it uses, the prompt, and then the seed, which is this is the random number that you can use to keep generating like the same image. Okay, you can also here download the image, right? And you can also go into a markup, which the markup, what's interesting about the markup is that it creates another node automatically, and it's called a composer node, and you can go in here, and essentially you can either draw on it, create mask on top of the image, and then save it out and use it in another workflow. So I'll show that in a little bit later, but that's just to get started. Okay, and then going back to the image node here, so like I said, here is where you would find all the types of models available that you can use. Each one comes with the amount of credits it consumes, so like how many credits it would use. So as you can see here, Nano Banana Pro uses 4 credits. All the other models, for the most part, use between 2 and 1 credit. Here you have also like the set of options here on the side. So it tells you like what is the model and a little bit of information about the model, the image ratio, so like what kind of size image do you want to output, the rendering speed. This is for some models, which some models allow you to toggle between the quality or the speed. And then here there's this fix button that lets you essentially go from, you can see like now the settings are next to the node, or you can click on it and the settings will stay up here. And then you can also download the image from here. So if you just click that, you can download the image. Okay. Now let me go back a little bit and show you another feature of the text node. So I'm going to go ahead and create another text node here. And if you see here on the properties or the settings of the text node, there's a property here called conversation mode, right? And if you can toggle it, it turns into a chatbot. So here, for example, let's try this, where I'm going to input the prompt that I generated here, and I'm going to tell it, can you change the prompt so the building has a different view angle? And what the model is going to do is going to take that input and it's going to feed it into it, and you can chat with it in a way similar to like how you would do with ChatGPT and so forth. So that's going to take a little bit of time because it's going to process this, and then here, and then it returns you um, based on that input. So and it tells you what you can do. So here's some templates that shift the building from different view angles. Choose an angle and use one of these. So you can say that. Okay. And then you can tell it generate fired by coral reef from, say, from isometric view. And this type of approach, the chatbot, it knows a little bit of the context. So it knows kind of like what you previously chat about, and it's going to be able to reason about that and provide you with the output. Okay, so it's processing. Okay, and then here it's like some of the outputs. What we can tell is just return one prompt. Return one prompt only. Return, let's say, just a prompt. But, okay, and this is like another ability that you can use with these text nodes. Okay. Let me know if you guys have any questions. If not, I can move a little bit forward. Okay, and you see here it returns that. And then we can do the same thing, plug it into an image node. It tells you a little bit about that. And then you can use that to generate the image. So one thing that I forgot to mention is that there's another option here, which it lets you, if you click on this, it lets you select the number of images that you can generate. So for example, if I have this and I set it to 4, it's going to generate 4 options, right? So that's going to take a little bit longer because it's generating 4 images. But the idea here is that you'll be able to have 4 images similar to something like this, where you can see different variations in one single node. And then you can select the image that you want and keep working from there. Okay, so that's going to take a little bit of longer time because of the number of images. Okay, so I'll wait for that to finish. Maybe I'll go a little bit of over some of the other features here on this menu. So like I said, here you have the types of nodes that you can use. So text, image, video, 3D, in-paint, upscale. Um, Here are some other tools. And then here you have a set of templates. So if you click this button here, there's already like a set of templates that you can use. So if you open one up, you can, for example, use this one, and it's going to automatically populate, let's say, a specific workflow um, that has been created already. Oops. Starting to lag a bit. I think it's lagging a bit. Unrelated to you, but I noticed there is an option to import. Currently, at the moment, we only have about, I think it should be around 250 megabytes that you can upload. We have essentially on the works a plugin for Rhino that can pull it in more directly. So that's coming up soon. Yeah. Okay. So right here you have that generation. Oops. It's a little bit laggy right now. Okay. I think too many people are on the board. All right. So let me continue before this thing lags a bit. Okay. So that's kind of one way to do it. Like, so you can do that. And then maybe I'll walk through this a bit. So once you kind of start building these workflows, and I'll show you what's going to be the end result that we want to do for once we bring it into Unreal. So essentially, we're going to take an image like this, and then you're going to get something like this. Where you're going to get a 3D model of like generated from that image by itself. And this model is fully navigable. So you can use the arrows on your keyboard, essentially pan around, move around, and see inside of the model itself. And then we're going to be able to download this and bring it into Unreal. So this is what is called a world model. And the idea behind these types of models is that they can generate a 3D object from an image itself. Does it support Blender? No, we don't have like technically we don't have like a Blender connection. So like all these things that so Revit and Blender, we're currently working on integrations that's going to be part of this upcoming year, where we're going to be rolling out integrations into Rhino, Revit, SketchUp. So those should be coming up soon. Okay, so then I wanted to show you this because this is a little bit of the final result that we want to get. And then we'll be able to bring this into Unreal Engine. As you can see here, this is 3D generated AI, and it's all from an image, which is pretty incredible at the point where we are right now. You can see some of the detail. Obviously, like just as kind of like forward about this generation, is that the model does hallucinate a little bit about the remaining part of the environment. So if I go to, for example, this is the image that I'm giving it. As you can see, this is only one image. So it only sees a portion of the image. The model has to pretty much fill the missing regions. and based on that, create like the overall 3D enclosure out of that. But this is a huge step from like where we were a few years back. We have video models. Now we can generate 3D models like this from just an image. Okay. Is it possible to generate the 3D model from the plan? Uh, yes, but not directly, at least not with this model that I'm showing here. It's not there yet. This one also just takes like an image as input. But for generating like a 3D model from plan, like maybe one approach to do um, would be to pass it to like Nano Banana Pro. I don't have a floor plan here to try it out. Let me see. Okay, let me try. All right, maybe I'll show you this, guys. So this is one example. This was actually an image done by one of our users. He's very popular on Instagram. It's at midjourney.architect. Um, and he generated this like house here. And we did some iterations for that house, like changing the light, changing the conditions of the time of the day. And then one thing that you can do, for example, like if you want to do 3D generation, you can use an image, send it to Nano Banana Pro, and for example, say generate a 3D axle of this view. And Nano Banana Pro is going to come up with something like this, like a little diagram. And then you can take that and send it to a 3D node. So, for example, in this case here, we tried Hunyan. So the 3D node is the one right here. So if you right click twice on the canvas, you can say 3D, and then it's going to pop this 3D node, and then you can select which model you want to use, for example. So you have Hunyan, Meshi, Tripo, Rodin, and CM3. I think my favorite at this point is the Tripo one. It's one of the best ones, or it gives possibly the best result right now. And then you can hit generate and pass the image here. You can also generate a 3D model just from the text prompt alone. And so maybe I'll show a little bit of this so you can get this as an output. Here's an example of that. You see it'll load. Here's a little bit of that. And then you can also download this model and open it up into other software. So this is Hunyan. Maybe I'll show the other generation here. And this is Tripo. So you can see Tripo attempts to do a little bit more of an accurate representation. And I think somebody asked a question before, like how is this generated? This is returned as a mesh, a triangulated mesh. So I would say like this is yeah, I think we should be able to. Actually haven't tried it myself yet, but Hunyang does, I think Tripo as well does support like multiple image. So it supports, I think, 4 image inputs from each side. And one of the things to note here is that if you look at it, the mesh comes out, like some parts come out fairly clean. Some other parts don't come out as clean. But if you think about it, like where it's come from over the last 2 years, like this is pretty good quality. It's actually getting better. It also populates, if you can see some of the interior here. So you can kind of like see a little bit of the furniture in there. So eventually this is going to become like much better. There's some models that can generate parts. We're working to include that in our canvas where you can separate each individual part that is generated. And that allows for like more specific tailored workflows. There's also a feature here that lets you essentially create a clipping plane. So let me show you a little bit of that. So you can kind of see this. So it does generate like some interior furniture here. and move this up and down. So it has some of that, like it includes some interior elements. And I think this is kind of maybe this year we're starting to see a little bit more of this, where the models are not just generating like an overall shell, but it's starting to do also the interiors as well. Obviously, this is still early stage. I would say like this is probably not as high quality as we wanted at this point, but it's definitely improving, and we'll probably have better models of the upcoming year. Okay. And then one of the things that you can do from the 3D viewer is that you can take snapshots. So you can take a image from this view. You can see it here, and then you can exit out of that and then pass that on to, let me go over here. You can pass that on to an image node. And essentially generate from that. Okay. I think it's like some people in the canvas, so it's a little bit laggy on my end. This is another, let me just show. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna work. Let me see if there's any more questions. What about sections, plans? Can you explain the differences of the 5 images from the text and the original one? Uh, Alejandro, can you maybe tell me specifically where? Do they come from the text that was out from the original photo? You mean this one here? Yes. So one of the things that we worked was you feed this image. This was provided by at Midjourney, that architect from Instagram. He was using the product, and we really liked this image. And we asked him if we can like use it to try some iterations on it. And he gave us permission. So we said, okay, let's try something where you have the image, you can run it through the text node, so give it as an input, and then generate a prompt from that image based on the original image, essentially. And then it's going to return this, right? And then one of the things that we did was, okay, let me show you what happens. One thing is that you can send this prompt, and I use it here for Nano Banana Pro. So I just pass the prompt itself, and you can see it generates some type of house based on the prompt that it generated. So it doesn't match the original one, right? So this is just a text to image generation using Nano Banana Pro. Here's another one. This was ideogram, so this one actually matched better. And then here, this one was using GPT-5 image, where we passed the original image and the prompt, right? And the prompt has like, what is the sky? So we just changed a little bit of the sky, the interior glow, the diffuse lighting, cinematic contracts, and so forth. So we wanted to change a little bit of the lighting and the time of day. And we passed that forward to the image node, and we use GPT-5, and then we pass the input and the input image, and then we get this a result. Here we did something similar. We took the original image and we added some light to the interior, as you can see. And we use Nano Banana Pro for this, so it takes the input prompt and then the image as well. And then for this one, the same thing. We just changed the time of the day as well, right? So one of the key things about this workflow is how you can start like from something like this and then begin to iterate like and change time of the day or any specific features that you want to modify and add to the image. And it's like, as you can see, it actually maintains the the consistent quality and features of the original image. So this workflow becomes really useful from like an editing perspective, especially when you want to do quick iterations over like specific changes that you want to control or for like modify to see different times of days, climate, and so forth. And then after that, like what you can do is keep on going and say, well, let me actually turn it into an axonometric and have the model whip something like this, which is kind of like a drawing axonometric for a more architectural type of diagram. Um, and then from there, like another key feature that you can do is essentially something like this, where you can pass it to another text node, uh, give the text node a specific task. So what do you want the task to do, right? So in this case, it would be generate a detailed blow-up of a facade, structural detail node. You can tell the model which action to do. And this is kind of like a very specific use case where you begin to like really dive into the details and be very specific with the prompt and how you actually want the model to operate on the image. And over here, you can kind of like see what is the output, right? So here, this is using Nano Banana Pro. We're feeding it the original image. You have an input prompt, this highly detailed specific prompt, and you begin to get some drawing diagrams like so. Um, so you can kind of like see. So this is pretty incredible. I mean, this is like over the last year, I've been pretty impressed with like some of the things that Nano Banana Pro can do. Um, and this is one of them where like it can take a little bit of the original image, interpret it, and figure out how to do a sort of architectural detail like this. And you can kind of like sometimes it does hallucinate, so you have to like be careful as a user and as a architect curator of these types of images. But you can kind of like see, well, woven timber screen, primary grazing flame, so that kind of makes sense. Structural node, kind of timber node, it kind of makes sense. Moisture control, and it's almost there. Thermal insulation, it's not kind of there. So some of the things that come out here, they make sense maybe from text, but it's not necessarily accurate. So you always have to double check. But as far as like diagram generation and things like that, it's like a good way to maybe take this and then start modifying it or really, as an architect, start developing something more accurate with your expertise. Yeah, exactly. And then following that, this is another example here. This is a different type of task. So this is to generate a photorealistic 3D render, focusing on the main front entrance, structural node of the facade of the building shown in the image provided. And then it has a very specific action. And then the aesthetic style, architectural inspiration, uh, the type of system that you want to. So this is more like giving it like specific types of um, expressions and intentions that you want as an architect. So the model can understand. You can tell it the rendering style, the color palette, lighting, atmosphere, context, post-processing, and then the final output. So as you can see, like these types of prompts can now become like super specific, where you can actually start sitting there, formulate a framework or like a structure for the prompt. So the one that I'm showing here, you guys can like reuse this. Um, is it possible to download that prompt? Yeah, I think you can just like highlight it and copy it. So you can just like copy and paste it somewhere. Yeah. Um, And I think like one of the ways that you can structure this prompt is, for example, task, action, a specific aesthetic quality, um, the rendering style, the color palette, lighting, and atmosphere, context, and post-processing, and then what you want as the final output. In this case, instruction-based models like Nano Banana Pro are really good at interpreting that, and then they can start delivering these types of outputs. So you can see like it kind of meets the consistency of the output, very specific, and it gives you a little bit more of the materiality, like how it has the wooden slats here, a little bit of the entrance, a little bit of the features here, and then also you can see the actual color tone of the image. Here this one came out a little bit more atmospheric, but it doesn't match the original image. So this becomes a process of like tweaking this a bit, trying to like work it from an inspiration perspective and intent, and seeing how you can develop the workflow out of that. Same thing with this one here. These prompts are actually, I forgot to reference here, but they were developed by another user. His name is Khalid. He's also pretty big on Instagram. Um, and he has developed these kind of really interesting workflows where you can take the images from here and the prompt and start generating kind of like more of these architecturally specific types of images, right? So you can see this a little bit where it becomes a little bit more diagrammatic. It becomes kind of like a mood board and then maybe like an architectural drawing at the same time. And then you can take this and essentially move it down to a more design development workflow as an architect and designer. Okay. So that's a little bit of that. So I'm just gonna show a little bit more here of this diagram. So like I said, started from the images. Here's another example of the 3D workflow, 3D model workflow that we can use for the project. So this is another 3D world generated. So I wanted to show this one as well, because you can see that the 3D world generation works really well at this point for interiors. But when it comes to exteriors, it's not as good, or it's not as consistent and accurate, where you can see that it generated similar buildings along here. You can still move inside of the scene. You can see a little bit of the ocean here. But once you go a little bit further out, it doesn't complete the building. So it doesn't understand that it has to finish the building. But anyways, like this is something just to like let you guys know like where the essentially potential of these models are, some of their limitations, and how they operate. And then yeah, so another thing that I kind of wanted to show that was it's another part of the workflow and interesting is that if you have this original image of the building, you can then tell it, oh, let me just switch this here. I can tell it, at least from Nano Banana or the Flux 2 model as well. I can say generate a view from the interior of the gym entrance to this building. So you can begin to like speculate on like the type of program, get concepts and ideas on that, and then generate some sort of output out of that. And then it becomes kind of like it takes part of like the initial input image language, so like the kind of curve geometry of the building, and then you can start using that as a way to develop the workflow further. Here, I did another example, which is essentially the interior of the lobby. So I told it to generate a view from the interior of the lobby. And then you get a little bit of some of those examples. So then you can kind of like see, you can select this image. Let's say, I don't know, I like maybe this one here. You select it, it turns blue, and then you can go drop another image node and say generate a close-up of the desk. And that's going to go, and it should generate a close-up of this. Let's see if that works. Oh, Nano Banana takes, okay. So then you can see that there, right? So that's it's pretty interesting because that lets you like essentially start to work from like images and prompts and then get ideas on specific elements, let's say inside of that space or image, and then begin to craft a narrative and a mood board specifically for like a project. And then that becomes like a way to reason about some inspiration and some concept development. Here's another example of that. So this is like a different kind of like size of the image, and also I did it from like a pool, let's say on top of this building. So you can kind of maybe let's zoom into one of these, for example, and you can get that. So I said this is the same approach where I took as input this image, the original building, and I said from the rooftop garden and pool of the structural high-rise, panoramic blue hour view over the glittering city, terrace, greenery, vertical green walls, palms, and tropical plants. And then it's able to generate this, so then you can work with this and then keep going from there as well. And then here there's an option where if you hover over here, you can see the original image kind of like more up close, and then the one that's generated. Okay. Here are more options of the building. So like one of the cool things about it is that you can begin to play with like different facades and you can iterate. And then this is another one of my favorite prompts that I like using, um, which is essentially like generate a 3x3 grid of images that showcase the main design elements of these buildings. So you're also taking as input the original image, and then you're gonna generate this grid here. And you can essentially keep going with the prompt and develop it more closely. Is it possible to delete a node and get the credits back? No, the way that it works is that once you generate something, essentially you have used the credits. So if you delete the node, like you'll still have generated the output and it's saved to your history. And I'll show you where you can find your history. So on the panel here, if you go here, you should have all your history. So let me open that up. So you can see like all the images that you have generated here. So even if you delete the node, you can still find the image here, the images, the videos, or the 3D models. So you can see a little bit of some of the stuff that I generated here, a little bit of my history. So so that's living here on the canvas, this panel, and you can navigate to that. The other thing is, for example, if I want to go here, I can zoom in and I can like view the video that I generated here. And it tells you also like information about the type of media. So it's like video, the input image, generate the sketch, the seed, and which model it uses. And then you can download the images from here also if you want. There's a slide button here that you can bring them down. So this is another one here. Let me expand, delete, and copy. So let's say expand, and you can see the image here. Okay. So I just wanted to show this one here. This is another type of prompt that I like using, that it creates kind of like a little mood board for a presentation, where you can essentially take an input image of the building and have the model reason about it and create different elements or detail elements, zoomed in elements, different views that capture the essence of the model. And you can be highly specific with the prompt, like I showed before, structure it in a specific type of format and get more accurate results. And then here's another example. This was like of the staircase in the interior lobby. You can see that here. And then moving on. So I'm going to explain a little bit about the video generation from here. So you can see using this node here, you can dive in and see how we can generate essentially videos from that grid of images. So you're going to input that frame. You're going to go here. I'll show you. You can click on it, go to the video node. The video node pops up. And then you have here the types of video models that we support at this moment. So you have ByteDance, Sora, Google Veo. But if you plug an image, I'll show you this real quick. You can see the models that we use as well. So I'm using Runway here. And then you finally get this output, and then you can download this as a video. Can we upload a reference? Photos as direction of the design to be followed. Yes. So ideally, what you can do, and maybe as an example, I don't know if I have any images here. 1 second. I'll just show you. Does it? Okay. All right. I'll show you how to upload images. So uploading images is pretty straightforward. There's a upload button here. So you can, for example, if I hit that button, I can select a set of images, let's say. So it just uploads one image at a time. You can upload multiple images, right? So here's like, let's say my image, and then I can plug this, or let's say I want to upload another set of images. I'm gonna go upload. Let me see, something fun here. So you have these set of images, and then what you can do is create an image node. Maybe you can use something like Nano Banana Pro or 1 second. Nano Banana Pro, Nano Banana also works, and then you can also use maybe Image Gen 4. Uh, these models that take its input a set of images. So for example, let's say Nano Banana Pro, and then I can just plug it in here, right? And then you can see here, it knows that these images are there, and then you can prompt it whatever you want to do based on those images. Does it use credits per image converted into video or for the whole node? So if you want to say, for example, that you have this image here and you want to create a video out of it, it is gonna use the credits during the generation process. So for example, I'm gonna say, let me just do this here. I'm gonna go, 1 second, let me zoom in a bit. Actually, let's do something like this. This is a little bit fun. I'm gonna take this image. I'm gonna go to the video node, right? Uh, and then I'm gonna say, I'm gonna pick a video model here, let's say. So I have runway and ByteDance, CDance. So let's use runway for now. And if you see here, this is how many credits it's gonna use when you hit generate. So if you use the generation, once it generates, it's gonna use this credits. And it usually takes about at least for these video models from 60 to 180 seconds sometimes. So if I just do that, I'm gonna go hit generate. It's gonna, if you see here, the credits get deducted from my credit pool here. Does that answer your question? Okay, let me know if you guys have any more questions. Meanwhile, this loads here. Okay, so here it is. Here's a video. So maybe let me zoom in. Uh, so there's your video from the image. Okay. Sure. Claudio, let me I can show you that real quick. Let me see. xFigura. So yes, the main idea behind xFigura is that we centralize everything under one platform. Obviously, there's going to be costs for that because we have to use essentially APIs from other companies, and they have a cost associated with the generation, compute costs to be able to use these things. What we try to do here is to make it as easy as possible for anybody to use it. If you go under pricing in the xFigura page, you can see some of the plans here. Yes. So I'll finish that. So if you go under the xFigura pricing page, you can see some of the plans that we have. There's kind of like a starter plans, which is $16 a month. You can use it to try. It includes 400 credits. More or less, this is how many images you can generate using 400 credits. So about 800 images with XDXL, 400 Flux images. Um, and then you can get 65 3D model generations. This is about like 5 credits each. And the images are private to you, and you can share Canvas with people and collaborate with people as well. This is a professional plan. This is a little bit more um, higher up in the number of credits, so it lasts a little bit longer. And then there's custom plans for enterprise. So for companies that are using the product internally, we also offer custom plans. I also had sent a code. Uh, I have it here. Sorry. I've shared this code with you guys. So if you want to try xFigura, and I'll resend it again. If you want to try xFigura, this gives you a 30% discount on the starter professional plan. So you guys are welcome to try it. And then if you like it, then you're more than welcome to use the platform. Okay. Is it possible to generate Gaussian splat? Yes, that's going to be what we're going to end up doing after this. So I just wanted to show you like a little bit of the platform, some of the things that we can do. And then I'll show you maybe finally before we take another break, and then we'll move into the Gaussian splat part and then the Unreal Engine. So here, this is something that we're going to do in a little bit. This is being able to generate an image of a person. We're going to generate a 3D model of that person, and then we're going to rig them and then bring it into Unreal Engine so we can use it and walk with them. So this is a photo of Ram. You can see here how we made Ram into the pose, and then we can use them in Unreal Engine later. And then we'll use a Gaussian splat generated from the image to be able to go into Unreal Engine and navigate inside of it. What is the difference of xFigura and WEBPAGE? So the platforms are similar in the sense that they are operating at that creative layer of generative AI and bringing you all the tools necessary for the creation of assets and different types of media. xFigura is more specifically focused on architecture, and we're developing the product so it's tailored to workflows related to architecture and design. This includes 3D generation and then integrations into platforms like Rhino, Rabbit, SketchUp. So all that is coming down the pipeline, but we're focusing the product more on integrations that are useful for architects. And how many credits we have? If you get so let me go back to this here. If you get the free plan, you get 25 credits that you can use. A starter plan gives you 400 credits at the moment. If you use the code that I sent in the chat, I don't know. I sent it. Yeah, if you use the code, the xFigura Design Morphine, you can get 30% off one of these plans. Oh, is it? Ooh, let me check. Give me 1 second. Let me check one. Okay. Thank you, Christian. I didn't know that was happening. I checked it this morning and it was working. Okay. No well, it gives you essentially instead of paying for like the full price, you get a 30% discount. So that gives you, let's say, 30% credits for free. So if out of 400, that gives you 30% of that for free. Will the credit aggregate if you don't use it all the months allocation? Yes, that is correct. It will aggregate. You can also purchase individual credits, like once you have a subscription, if you run out of credits, but the credits will aggregate if you don't use them. Okay, I'm checking on the discount code. I'm not sure what had happened. I'll get back to you guys, but you should be able to have that. If not, I'll make sure that you guys have that after the workshop. If not, okay. Can we buy credits if we are on a free plan? Yes, I think you're able to, but you would have to create, yeah, you would have to create a like log in, create a subscription, and then you'll be able to buy credits, like reload on credits eventually. So yes, to answer your question, yes. Okay. Okay, so maybe I'm gonna like wrap a little bit up, uh, and I'll show you like a little bit of the dashboard when you sign in. Um, and then we can dive in after into like the Unreal Engine part and the Gaussian splats. And also the character rigging so you can play with the character. Okay, so like I said, this is what we're gonna end up doing for like the Unreal Engine part. We have we're gonna generate a space from an image. So in this case, I have this space here, and like I showed you guys a little bit before. Let me see if I can load it real quick. So it's this space as an example, and we're gonna download it. So you download this, it's gonna download it as a apply file, which is open. It can open in Unreal, and then I'll show you some of the things that we need to do. Um, we have to install a few plugins in Unreal. Actually, just I think just one at this point. So we are able to see the Gaussian splats and use them. Um, and then we'll go from there and we'll rig a character like this. And I'll show you how to animate that. And then we'll set it as a first person character so you can walk around with the character. So we'll do that after the break. And then let me just go back and I'll show you a little bit of what else is under the xFigura platform. So when you sign in, when you log in, you have a dashboard here. And the dashboard includes boards, gallery, model training, and notifications. So the way that the platform works is that you can create a board, essentially a project, and each board you can develop for like a different project. So let's say you have a type of architectural project, you're working on a museum or competition, so you want to create a board that just is tailored for that. You can also create a folder. So you can say museum entry, competition, and then create a folder. And then you can take that and move your boards inside of that folder. So everything kind of lives organized inside of there. It tells you like when it was created, some actions, edit, share, open as a community, remove from folders, delete or duplicate. And then you can go back here. So these are my, let's say, boards that I currently have. And the one that I'm sharing with you, which is called Worlds. Um, And then you can also share toggle like this, so you can kind of like see a little bit of this. Uh, and then the other things here is like that you're gonna have your gallery, so all your history of the stuff that you generated here. So you can see a little bit of the stuff that I have. This includes all images and videos as well. And you can toggle on and off here, so it filters out the type of media that you're using, and also by specific projects. So you can toggle that on, let's say for there. I don't have 3D models here, but you can toggle per project as well, right? Okay. So that's a little bit about that. And then here you have your info. If you have any feedback or message, you can always send it here to our chat support, and we will take a look at the issues. Okay, so I'm gonna leave it. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions. I'm gonna leave it there at the moment, and then we can come in and do some of the Unreal part. Okay. So let's take like an 8 minute break. So maybe come back at 25. Awesome. Yeah, feel free guys to leave any questions. I'm gonna take a look at um the discount code to make sure that it works. And then we'll come back and we'll do Unreal and we'll walk through that a bit. Okay. All right. Thank you guys. See you in about 8 minutes. Hi guys. Yes, the board will be live. So I sent you guys the link. Let me maybe I'll send it again, and I'll also send. It should be live after the workshop, so you can like use like take a look at it after. I'm gonna also send after the workshop. I'm gonna send like a summary of like what we did today and some of the things and tools that are available in the platform, and a little bit more of specific things, some advice and tips of how to use it. So you'll have that after as well. Okay. Um, okay. I guess we can. Does anybody have any questions? If not, we can hop right in into the other part of the workshop. Okay. Uh, cool. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna share. Excuse me. I'm gonna share in a Google Drive folder that contains the zip file for Unreal Engine, so you guys can like open it on your end and use it. If you can follow along, it's a pretty heavy file. Unreal Engine tends to like create pretty heavy files. So I'm just gonna give it to you guys. Like it's like a base file that you guys can use, and then you can follow along, or you can check it out later on. And I'm just gonna go over some of the steps of how to get some of these parts working in Unreal Engine, like bringing down the Gaussian splats, bringing in like the character, rigging the character. I don't know if we're gonna have time to do Rhino, but I'm gonna try to see. If not, we'll use this time just to like, go a little bit into Unreal Engine, and then so we'll rig the character. We'll bring in the Gaussian splats. Um, okay, I'll try to see if I can squeeze in the Rhino as well at the end. Um, We'll bring in the Gaussian splats, we'll bring in the character, we'll rig the character, and then we'll make kind of like a first person kind of a walk around of the Gaussian splat with the character. Um, okay, so let me show you guys real quick. I'm gonna send you the link. So, okay. Okay, so I send you guys the link there. This should contain the Unreal zip file. So it's a pretty heavy file. So I guess like meanwhile, if you guys want to download it, that's fine. It'll take a bit. Um, and then maybe we can work from here now. Uh, so excuse me. Okay, so maybe let's go back into this a bit. So we got the 3D model, so like this world model here. What we can do is like, so the way to do it, maybe I'll show you real quick how you can guys do it. You have an image. It works really well for exterior images. I would say it's probably like the best use case right now to generate like an interior type of space. If you go here under the plus sign on the toolbar, there's a World Labs node, and you can just drag it on. You can also do a prompt. Like you can also do prompt to 3D World if you want, whatever you want. But I'm gonna do, for example, in this case, um, an image. So let me just see if I can find an interesting image that's already generated here. Uh, okay. All right. Maybe what I can do is, let's try something like this and see what happens. We're gonna take one of these images here. Let me see which one is like a good one. Okay, let's try one of these. I'm gonna pass this on here. This image node. Oops. Okay, I'm gonna take this image here. I'm gonna go to create interior views for it, so you guys can see like more or less the workflow. And then I'm gonna connect it to the image node here on World Labs. And then I'm gonna use Nano Banana Pro. It's really good at doing interiors, and I'm gonna say generate the interior view of the living room of this residential house. Okay, and then I'm just gonna hit generate. That's gonna take a little bit, takes a little bit of time. It usually takes about like, I don't know, 20, 30 seconds more or less. So let's just wait till that goes. Okay, that's not good. So this is not gonna work in because it's kind of like cut right at the seam. So let me do another generation. Okay, so I just like made it look a little bit more specific of what I want. Yeah, you can set this seed to whatever you want. You can also change the image ratio. I'm gonna use like just the square ratio for now, as a good starting point for World Labs. It tends to work pretty well for that. You can also change the scale factor as well here. Yeah, so like for example, like this one, I could have just done like, oh, let me just do like a different seed to see if it works. Okay, so while that loads. Mhm. Okay, so none of it's taking a little bit longer than usual. Okay, here it is. All right, so this is my interior view. So we're gonna be using this, and let's just take this as an example, and I'm gonna connect it to the input image. Let me get rid of this one. The input image of World Labs. And I'm just gonna go hit generate. So if you see here, actually it takes like 30 credits. So this is actually a pretty expensive model in a sense. Just because of the type of model that it is, it's actually generating like a 3D point cloud, fairly large point cloud that is a Gaussian splat. And for those of you that don't know maybe what a Gaussian splat is, let me just see if I can pull this up quick. So a Gaussian splat is it's 3D reconstruction. Like it uses, for example, different camera views. So it's kind of like photogrammetry. But instead of using like a mesh or any other type of representation like that, it uses point clouds, and those point clouds have specific properties based on the view angle that you're looking for. So it's more or less taking the camera's position and viewing location as a way to modify the point clouds so it looks realistic with the color and the appearance. Okay, so this is going to take a little bit of time. Can we get recording? Yes, you will have the recording as well. Design Morphine will send that out afterwards. Oh, Canvas is too heavy, too many people. Okay, so this generation does take a little bit of time. It takes about close to like 3 minutes or more or less. And that would be good. I guess like the other maybe like I can also show for those of you that are maybe I don't know if anybody's familiar with like Speckle. We have like a 3D uploader viewer that you can drag and drop some of these types of files here. And then it has a max size of 250 per file. And then we also have a Speckle viewer. If for those of you that maybe don't know what Speckle is, it's essentially maybe I'll share the link here. It's a platform to link 3D models from different software. So it's like platform agnostic and it can be accessed on the web. So you can push a model from Rabbit, Rhino onto Speckle on the web platform. It could also be an IFC model. And then it lives on the web here. One of the cool parts about it is that you can get then a link. You can get a link where you can load the model specifically here. Let me see if I have an example. For example, I'm just gonna show you guys, if you guys are familiar with Speckle. So we can load a link from like the Speckle model. And then if I zoom in, here's my 3D model. So this is a model from my partner, Giovanna. She designed this little house. And you can, we're updating this, but we'll have eventually more advanced features. But you can start using this as a way to, for example, I want to start visualizing this quick and run some iterations so I can like take specific views out of it. So I can save this view here. Maybe I want a view a little bit more like this. You can save the view. So the views get saved here. You can see that, and then you can get out. And then what you can end up doing is like based on the views here, like if you select it, you can then plug this in as well to image pipeline. So pass on the view, and then you can see it here, and then you can prompt it and tell it to generate something. These are made using Speckle. Oh, cool, nice. I'll check it out. Is there a way to stop? Oh, can't access that, right? Is there a way to stop the generation of an image or can be implemented in the future? It's well, once it goes essentially, it's really hard to stop it because it gets sent to like another server. So once you hit generate, it's just gonna go. It has already like sent your data to a server, and that's like apart from let's say our platform. So it's gonna go once that's sent. We can, yeah, we haven't looked into like implementing because it like kind of leaves essentially like the platform, like it gets sent to from our server to another server, and then we're just waiting to get the response back. Okay, so this is taking a little bit of time. It usually takes a bit of time. Okay, so maybe I'm just gonna open up Unreal Engine and we can start from there from now. So like I said, maybe we'll use the one, if you copy and paste the component, the image will appear. What is the seed for? Yeah, it's still running. It's taking a little bit of time, actually. Usually takes around 5 minutes or so. Um, so what is the seed for? The seed for sets like a random number for the generation, which means it's essentially a computational thing. Um, the number kind of fixes set of random weights on the model, on the AI model, so you can kind of like repeat the same image. But if you change it, it slightly tweaks that random generation. So it's a way to control the randomness. And okay. All right, this is taking a little bit longer. I'm just gonna use what we have and I'm gonna open up the Unreal file. Let me go. So I have Unreal 5.4. I use the Epic launcher to log in. Okay, uh, okay, 1 second. Let me see if I can log in. Okay. Okay, so I already have the sample file that I gave you guys. I'm just gonna open it up. Should be the one that I sent you. This is the one. Um, and then I'm using Unreal 5.44. And then I'm just gonna open it up real quick, and then I'll show you a plugin that we gotta add so you can visualize the Gaussian splats. So this is gonna take a little bit of time as well. No, it's still not done. Well, okay. Mm, yeah, it's still loading. Oh, that's fair. Okay, it's taking a little bit. I don't know if it's because of I'm streaming at the same time that it's taking a little bit too long. Um, okay. So before we get started, we're gonna be using this plugin called Pico Splat. And you can add it to your Unreal. This is like the one that I found that was kind of like free, and also able to load the apply file as a splat into Unreal. So I'm gonna copy the link here, guys, so you guys can add it to your Unreal library. And then I'll show you where you can add it in Unreal. So this plugin was one of the few ones that I found that was free. All the other ones are paid. But what it lets you do is essentially import apply file that contains the Gaussian splats, and then you can use it inside of Unreal. The other thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna use Mixamo to like rig a quick character. And I'm sending that link here too. Uh, And then Blender, and I'll tell you why we need Blender in a second, but Blender has like really useful features for converting file types formats. So Blender as well. And this we're just gonna use Blender to convert an OBJ to an FBX for Unreal. So it's pretty fast in Blender, so okay. Yeah, it's weird. Okay, so let me go to this plugin now. Let me see if Unreal's open. Okay, yes. Okay, so this is the base file that I gave you guys. And you can see here the Gaussian splat models. And I'm going to turn a few of them on just so they don't intersect. Okay. Oh, that's the one. Okay. So you can once you have that, you can just download the splat as a ply file. So if you go, for example, here, I think this one was created. You can just hit download, and it's gonna start automatically download. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time because it is a heavy file, and I think with my internet connection, it's taking a little bit of time right now. Yes, Blender is free. Yeah, Blender is a great software. Okay, and it's like downloading. So here's the ply file. Okay. So let me go back to Unreal. Okay, so here's the splat file in Unreal Engine. This is how we imported and how it looks in Unreal Engine. Uh, I made like a base platform, so there's like a floor underneath, so the character can walk on, and it has like a collider. Because when we import the splats, we have to turn the collider so we can walk through it. It doesn't have clear geometry. So you have to be able to walk through it. Thank you. Thank you, Alejandro. Thank you. Okay. Uh, so what we're gonna do is bring this in, and then I'm just gonna hit play just to show you what happens. So here's the character that I generated from the image in xFigura, and then it's fully rigged and loaded here, and then you can see the character can walk around in the Gaussian splat. Okay. So you can see as well that there's no collisions on the Gaussian splat, but it becomes here something to look at and navigate. There is better plugins for the Gaussian splats that have higher quality, but this one's free, so it's definitely useful. And then, for example, I can walk into another one. So these are all generated using the World Labs model. You can see another one here. And these are all generated from like a single image. So it's pretty amazing that this can be done. Okay. All right. And that's how it looks over here. It's kind of like, so you can see it's kind of like a set of fluffy point clouds. And that's the representation of a Gaussian splat. And it's camera dependent. So depending on the camera, you'll see the full representation of it. Okay, cool. So now that you have that, once you download or let's say add to the library this plugin called PicoSplat, you can upload it onto Unreal Engine from your let me see, pick Games Launcher library should be here. Fab, PicoSplat. Okay, so if you go to like the Epic Games Launcher Fab library, it's called PicoSplat, and you can add it here, and then you save it onto your library from the website that I sent you guys. It should automatically open it up here, and then you can load it into Unreal Engine. And then once you have that, then you're kind of good to go. The only thing that you would have to do in Unreal Engine is go to the plugins. So under Edit, Plugins, and then type in PicoSplat, and then just make sure that it's turned on. And if it's turned off, usually what it'll happen, like Unreal will tell you, to restart, so it can make changes, and then you just hit restart, and it should load back everything on. Okay, and once you have that working, then I'll just show you guys. In this folder, I have like a set of splats here that I pulled from the World Labs generation. I'm gonna pull another one just so you guys can see, like the most recent one that downloaded. Okay, I'm just gonna go to like my folder, and I'm just gonna drag and drop into this folder, and it should load. So here it is. And this is pretty straightforward. I'm just gonna drag and drop here. And if I zoom in by hitting F key, okay, here's my interior. And you can see the interior a bit. So like you see, it works really well for interiors or like spaces that are enclosed. It's able to generate the full enclosure. And then from there, one of the things to note is like the splat behaves like a regular Unreal Engine model, where you have your transforms, your rotation, your scale. I had to scale the other ones like to 2, so it matches a little bit of the character size. So I'm just going to scale this up a bit, and then I'm going to pull it up, let's say there. So you can see that. And then, okay, I'm gonna keep this one for now, and I'm gonna delete the other ones just in case. Okay, and let's hit play. Let's see if it works. And here's my character, and then we're just gonna go to the splat. Oh, so you see there, it has a collider, so I can't go inside of it. So we have to turn off the collider. So if you hit on this, you click on the splat, and then you type in here and search on collider. Sorry, collide. So you can click off where it says generate overlapped events, turn off, can character step on, yes. And then this should be turned to no collision. Okay, and once you do that, then you should be able to walk through it. So let me try it again. This is my character. Okay, and now we're like inside. Cool. So the character is a little bit bigger than the door. So you have to like scale it up. Sometimes they come at scale, sometimes they don't come at the correct scale, but this is how it would look. So you can kind of see that a bit here. Okay. So that's pretty much like the how you would import the supply model here. Then we can do a quick setup for the characters, so you guys can have that, and I'll show you how to do that. So it's pretty straightforward to do this. Obviously, you have to create like a floor so the character doesn't fall through it as a collider. Okay, so now let's go to the characters. Let me know if you guys have any questions. If not, I'll keep going a bit. Okay, so I'll keep going. Uh, so now let's say, for example, so this is the character that we used. So we told Nano Banana Pro to generate this image of the person, right? And this is the prompt here. So T-pose reference front model from view perspective, arms extended at shoulder height, full body shot, and then wearing, and then you can set this here. So if gender equals F, sundress, denim jacket, canvas, shoes. So the model knows how to make this person and dress it. And then if gender M equals handy shirt, shorts, da. So you can like modify this. You can like change this. Maybe it's just male, and then you can tell it like what you want the character to wear. So this is one way to generate the image like that. The other approach, similar to this, is to take an image of of a person like this, and then still have the same kind of prompt, right? And then feed that into Nano Banana Pro, and it's gonna make the person into that T-pose shape that we need later for rigging. So like in this case, this is Rem Koolhaas, so we decided to turn him into a character. And same thing for Saha, so we can get her in this frame, and then we can also convert her into a character that can be rigged. So for example, in this case, let me just open up this. I use the 3D model, Tripod V3. So this is when you go here and you go to 3D, and then it gives you the node here, and then you can select the model. I like Tripod V3. I think it has a pretty decent quality for the cost. And then it's already connected to the image, and you can just hit generate. So if I zoom in here and if I dive in, we can get potentially Rem Koolhaas into Unreal Engine, which doesn't look that much in it, but close enough. Okay, so that's one thing. And then let's say Saha here. Okay. All right. So let's do okay, let's do Saha. Okay. So what I'm gonna do now is I can download this. You can download the OBJ texture model here. This takes a little bit, and then we're gonna rig the model. Okay, so we got here, you see. So we have here the zip file, and if you look inside of it, it contains the OBJ, the material textures, and so forth. And then we're gonna go to Mixamo here. Actually, before that, we actually have to use Blender to fix the format. So you can open up Blender. And also, like, you can always like generate a character in a different pose. So this is the reason that we decided to do this type of pose is because it's easy to rig in Mixamo. So Mixamo is like an open platform that lets you upload 3D models of characters, and it allows you to like rig it pretty easily. So this is the perfect pose for that. And now with the type of image generated models that we have, this is pretty easy to accomplish, as you can see. Okay, so now that we're here in Blender, what we're gonna do, File, Open, Import, and we're gonna go import with OBJ. Okay, right here, and I'm gonna go look for my downloads. Oh, I think it's a second. Oh, sorry, I forgot to unzip it. This one, I'm not sure. Okay, I'm just gonna unzip that texture model file. And let me check if it pops out now. One more time. Import OBJ. Gonna copy this here. Oh, it's okay. And I just copy like the name, and I'm just gonna hit model OBJ, import, and here is Saha. So this is oriented in this coordinate because it has a 90 here. So I gotta like make it back to 0. And I'm just gonna move her up so like her feet are at this ground plane. And the way to do that here in Blender is the move button. Here you can move up. Just make sure that she's at the ground plane. Perfect. And then once I have that, then I can go to File, Export, and I'm gonna go export it as an FBX. I'm just gonna save it here on Downloads. And this part is like really important here. So let me give it a name. So character, Saha. Okay, and then I'm gonna click off all of these. I just want the mesh. This part here is really important. You can set this to copy, so it keeps the texture on the character, and then click this here. So that's gonna save the OBJ or like the FBX file with the embedded texture. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and export FBX. Blender should be pretty quick in that. Okay, and then now. Go back to where I saved it, I have an FBX model of the character that I can bring into Mixamo. So then now I'm going to go into Mixamo. Here, you can make a free. I think it's you can just log in with a free account. You don't. It doesn't have a cost. It's open. You just have to make an account. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to upload character here. Let me see. Yep. Upload character. And then I'm going to drop in the FBX character here. Then it's going to take a little bit of time. So it like processes the character and uploads it. And then we'll rig the character and then bring it into Unreal Engine. And then maybe one thing I didn't show, but you can also you should be also able to use this as an image here. It's not letting me save it out. Okay. Another feature that we're gonna eventually add, we're planning on working on this, is that you can connect different 3D models into a 3D viewer. So you can populate like a 3D model with different characters or architecture objects or whatever 3D objects you generate. And you'll be able to populate it in a 3D viewer, and then you can take images from different angles and run like a rendering visualization pipeline afterwards. So that should be coming up within the next month or so. Okay, let's see if it's loaded. Okay, cool. So now here's my character. And then I'm going to rotate on axes here. Okay, so there she is. We want her to be facing like this. And then I'm going to hit next. And then we're just going to connect these as they show here on the right side. so we can rig the character. So we're gonna put chin, the wrist, elbows, knees, center. Okay, and then once that's done, keep it as symmetric. This is good to go. Then we just hit next, and Mixamo is gonna automatically create the skeleton and rig it. Okay, this takes a little bit of time. It takes about 2 minutes to load. If anybody has any questions, like feel free to ask. The next part is a little bit more Unreal intense, like it's a little bit more technical. So I have to go through it like step by step on how to like animate the character and connect it with like a skeleton, so like it works well. So when you play with it, it moves correctly. And then once we do this, then we'll have the character and the Gaussian splat in Unreal. And then after that, I'm gonna try to squeeze in a little bit of the Rhino connection. Okay, cool. So here we go. So the character is rigged. Okay, next. Perfect. So the character is not going to show up here. So here it is. And then what we're going to do is download the character now. So download FBX T-pose and then download because we're going to need this for Unreal. Okay. And then what I'm going to do, I got to make a new folder so I keep everything in here. Okay, so I'm just gonna I just create a new folder so I can keep it a little bit separate from the other things. Um, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take that downloaded character and I'm gonna put it here, and then we're gonna download some of the key animations for the character to add it to the character in Unreal. And this all comes from Mixamo, so there's nothing much else to do. So this is pretty straightforward. We're just gonna like search for the animation. So one of them is like idle, so like when it stands. And then we can put either this one, I think this one's fine. So it's just the character standing like this. So I'm gonna go here, download, and then this part is important. We don't need the skin. We already have the skeleton, so without skin, and then we just can click download. Okay, so it's downloaded, and then we're gonna look for walking. So we can use this one here. Okay, the character's walking correctly, and then we're gonna go to in place. So just make sure that in place is selected, so you can see the character walking here, and then hit download without skin as well. Okay. And then the next one that we're gonna look for is running. So it could be this one, and then hit in place. So the character is running. Download. Okay, so it's downloaded. Uh, the other one is gonna be jumping up. So this one here, download. Okay, and then jumping down. So this one here, download. And the final one is falling. So this one, this falling idle, and then download. Okay, now that we have all those animations, then we can bring those in with the character into Unreal and rig the character so we can use it in first person. Okay, so let me go back to Unreal. I'm gonna put all the animations in one folder. Okay, so here are all my animations: falling idle, idle, jumping down, jumping up, running, and walking. And then these we're gonna use here. So what I'm gonna do now in Unreal is I have this folder here called characters. I'm gonna create a new one and I'm gonna call it new folder, say character. Uh, oops. And I'm gonna create another folder called animations and then model. And under model, I'm just gonna drop, I'm just gonna drag and drop. Sorry, let me go back to I'm gonna drag and drop my character in here. And then this should all work. There's no issue with this. I think this is pretty full. Sender. Yep. Yep. So this is done. So we can just go import, import, and it's going to import the FBX 3D model. Okay, this should be fine. So here's my character. You can kind of see her. Um, okay, so now from here, we can also drag and drop the animations that we downloaded. So we can just essentially copy all these like this and just drag them in. And then for skeleton, we're gonna select the character, Saha skeleton. And then that should be good to go. Yeah. So it's gonna create all the animations. Okay, cool. So like maybe if I open it here, oh, open on the other side. So here's the character animated. in Unreal. So now we just gotta connect all the different states of the animations. So when we control the character, it knows how to move between each animation based on the controls. So we'll do that now. Okay, so I'm in the animations folder here. And then I'm just gonna go create, right click here on the folder, animation, and then I can go to legacy and then blend space 1D, right? And then select the character here. So Saha, skeleton. And I'm gonna say, what's it called? Say Sa character blend 1D. Okay, and then I'm gonna open this here. Let me make it full screen. Okay. And what I'm gonna put here is the idle animation all the way here at the end. And then the walk-in animation somewhere here in the middle. And then the run-in animation all the way at the end, right? Just put it, oh, sorry, put the wrong one here. It's the run-in animation. Okay. And what this is doing is essentially interpolating from the idle state, the walk-in state, and then the run-in state. And if I hit control and hover over it, you can kind of see how it begins to change states. Okay. So once that's done, we can save it. Should be this animation is set. And then we can go back to do the other part, which is connecting them now. So we're gonna right click here again. We're gonna go into animation and then animation blueprint. Select the character. Create. I'm just gonna write character stuff, animation blueprint. Okay. Then I'm just gonna open this. Okay, and this is where we're gonna start creating our state, or like our to connect our different states. And what I'm gonna do is open up the blueprint, right click, and then type in state machine. Say, oh, connect this to here. Go inside of the state machine. Character. Forget that was the. Give me one sec. Back. Oh, okay, gotcha. Okay, I'm gonna drag this here onto the canvas, which is the character blend that we made, and connect it. Right? So it's gonna have an entry state, so it starts from here and then it goes into that animation from idle, walking, and running. And okay, connect, and then click on this character movement. Okay, so it's already there. And I'm gonna right click on this here, and I'm gonna hit promote variable. In this variable, we're gonna call it speed. So I'm gonna rename it here. And this variable is essentially gonna check like how fast the character is moving when it's like what state it in. So if it's like standing still, then it's a 0. And then as it starts walking, it moves at a certain speed. And then once it crosses a threshold, then it's gonna start running. So that's a way to check that. Okay. And so the name is set to speed. So this part is a little bit time consuming because you have to do like a lot of specific tweaks. But it's active now. So, okay. Click on the character movement. We promoted the variable. And then you go to the state machine and you add jumping up here, jumping down here, and then falling. Okay. And then it's going to go into this one. So from this state, so like from walking or running, it's going to go into jumping up. And then this is going to go into idle once it comes back down, holding idle. And then it's going to go into jumping down, which is when it lands. And then it's going to come back into this state. So then you have the sequence of states of how the character would move. Okay, and then we're going to set a few things here. So we're going to go into this connection here. And this is how we want the character to move across the transitions. So we're going to do here, search, right click, time. Oh, whoops, hold on a second. Let me just double check this one. Go. Okay, so we're going to create another variable. It's like a Boolean. I'll show you. Let's see, Boolean. Uh, it's not that one. It's not okay. Oh, okay. Remember. Let me see if I can copy it over. Should be Boolean. Okay, so it's gonna be a Boolean called is fallen. Uh, okay. All right, let me. Okay, so delete this one. So if I right click here on the variables and I go to variable, add a new one, I'm just gonna call it, rename it is fallen. And then I'm gonna drag here, get the is fallen Boolean and then connect it here. Okay, and then let me go back to my state. So that's my first transition. So it's gonna check if it's fallen or not. And then from there, I'm gonna go to my other transition from jump into fallen idle. And this one, if I remember correctly, I have to sorry. right click, and then I type time less than time remaining. So time remaining from jump. And then I'm gonna do a less than 1. Okay, and then I'm gonna connect this. So what this is doing is essentially checking, okay, if it's small less than this amount of seconds, then it's gonna enter the transition of falling. So if it's up in the air and it's like less, if it's less than this amount of seconds, then it's gonna start falling, and then it switches animation. And then we have to do one more, which is, okay, so we did this one, falling idle. So for falling idle, we're gonna do is falling variable here, get it, and then we're gonna do the opposite of jumping up. So we're gonna have to do an not boolean here. So it's kind of saying if it's falling, then you're not jumping, right? So you gotta enter into another transition. Okay. And then finally, from jumping down to like the walking and running, we're gonna add the final transition. And this one is a time remaining. So it's gonna check how much time it has passed from the jumping down transition. And we're also gonna do less than 0.1. Okay. And then that should be it. Let me compile, save. Okay. And now I want to do something. I want to go to the event graph here, and I'm gonna set how this is gonna move. So maybe I'll show a little bit of this character. So this is what we have to do. This is from this character, but we're gonna have to get the velocity of the character, get the movement component, which is target, and then check if it's falling. The vector length is the speed is related to the speed, so how fast is the character moving, and then it's going to be checking pretty much if it's falling or not, and that's what's going to animate our character and go through the transitions in the different states. So now here, what I'm going to do is this one goes into get velocity. Okay. And then from get velocity, vector length. So and then I'm gonna drag speed set because we're setting how fast the character is gonna be moving, and this is to check the boolean. And then I'm gonna drag this here so it executes, right? And then we have to do the other part, which is the get movement and to check whether it's fallen or not. So then we're gonna drag from here, get movement, base actor. Oh, so this one. Get movement component. So get movement component. And then it's falling. Oh, no. So, what was that? Is one. Okay, so I'm just gonna drag and then I go is following here. And then finally I do drag this one and then a set and connect this here and this here. Let me just double check with the other one. Yep. Okay, so now the whole animation graph is set up. Compile, save, and it's working. Okay, so now that we have that, that should be the last steps to set up the character. Now we just have to go to okay. So that should be good. Now we just have to change our third person character. And if you go to third person, yeah, so if you go to third person, blueprints, third person character, it opens up this graph here. And then we're just gonna change here on the right side, the mesh. So which character we're gonna use. So we're gonna use the Saha mesh and it should automatically update it. And then from there, compile, save. Okay, yep, save. Okay, so that should be good. Now what we can do is hit play, and there's a character. And we can use our character to walk around. Okay, and here we are. Okay, and that's how you would set essentially generate a character from xFigura, rig it using Mixamo, transform it into FBX format in Blender, and align it to the floor, and then bring it into Unreal Engine and add the animations that you brought down from Mixamo, and then you can use the character here. This opens up like a whole bunch of things, which you can create a whole bunch of characters like that, and then like populate whatever you're doing in Unreal Engine or develop other things out of that. Okay, cool. So maybe let me stop here. Let's take another 5 minute break. I need some water. And then I'll try to close up. I'll see if I can get the Rhino going real quick and just do like a quick show of that. And then we can open it up for questions. Or if anybody has questions, just put them on the chat. Awesome. Thank you, June. Um, okay, so maybe let's take a 5 minute break. Let's come back at 1:42, and then we'll close up the final part. All right. Thank you, guys. Be right back. Okay. Hey guys. So I'm just gonna finish up. I'm gonna test out something in Rhino. And then we can close off here. I'm just opening up my Rhino right now. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask. Okay. Um, okay. So nobody has a question. I'm just gonna show a little bit of some of the stuff with Rhino real quick. Let me share screen again. Okay. I think you should be able to see my Rhino screen. Okay, so currently, if you go to the package manager, um, we do have a beta version of Rhino. It's a test that we are running right now. So you can go to the package manager, go to xFigura, um, here, and you should be able to get this version. Uh, oh wait, no, not that one. Sorry. Right here. So there's a 1.09. This was released as a beta version on December 16th. So you can like install it. It has some limited features. We're still working on it and improving it a bit. Should be coming soon. Within the next month or so, we'll release a fuller version. But I'm going to show a little bit just of the possibilities that it opens up, and then after this, we can have questions about it. And if anybody else has any questions, we can talk a little bit more. So yeah, you can download this one, try it out, install. What it's going to end up happening is that if you once it's installed and you restart Rhino, if you go to the command, you can type in xfigura command, and it should pop up this side panel here. So you'll get this web viewer here. And what you would have to do is just like log in with your account. So everything that you have signed up in, let's say on the web, with your xFigura account, all the credits and all your history and stuff like that, it'll transfers here. So you don't have to worry about that. So I'm just gonna try to sign on here. Okay, I'm already signed in. Okay, so I have access to all my data information. You can see my credits here and so forth. So let me bring, I forget which one was the one that I was using for run. Okay, let me try this one. I think this is the one. Okay, this is another board that I had for testing. Okay, so maybe just to go over, so this was done through Speckle here, like these types of tests. So you can do similar things with a 3D model from Rhino, and develop kind of like these pipelines directly. What makes it interesting about the Rhino plugin and what we're trying to do is that, for example, oops, let's say I have this viewport of this 3D model here. So let's say I'm doing this in an example, but like let's say this is my 3D model. What I can do here is take a screen capture at this point in time, and then let's see if it pops up. So you can get it here, right? So then you have like a direct screen capture here, and then you can do like the remaining types of workflows that you want. So for example, let's say image, right? Um, I want to run, let's say we can use Nano Banana or Nano Banana Pro, and I'm gonna tell it, um, I don't know, populate, make this a more realistic rendering with a wooden structure and plants and vegetation, include people walking around. Okay. So I'm going to use Nano Banana Pro. It's really good at this type of stuff. And then you can just go hit generate. So now you can start from like your image here from Rhino. So you can have different viewports, have different views that you can use, and be able to generate these types of workflows for visualization and iterations. Something that we're working on as well is that we're going to be able to upload the image model, I mean the 3D model directly onto our canvas, and then you're going to be able to do some edits and some types of functions directly on our xFigura canvas. So that's coming soon. Um, and then we're going to add some more features like being able to connect the LLMs directly as well into Rhino and so forth. So that's going to come within the next 2 months. So here you go. So here's an example of that. So like you can kind of see a little bit of this. Here is our image, and then maybe if I zoom in a bit, here it is. So it populated it with people, it added some plants, it made the structure like a wooden structure, and it still kept, which is, I think it's awesome, like it still kept the name of the rooms here. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, so that's kind of like what we're doing with it. You can obviously do a lot more things. You can create your own 3D models as you want and be able to start developing these workflows using the image capture for now, and then we'll have the 3D uploader coming up soon. But yeah, so that's maybe what I wanted to show you guys real quick, so you can kind of see this and compare. And that's directly there. Okay. Yeah, so we can do that. So maybe I'll do like I'll do from another side. All right, let me go from another angle here. Let's see. Yeah. Okay, let me do like kind of like an elevation view like this, right? Okay. Something like that. I want to turn off. I'm gonna turn off the room names. Okay. So I'm gonna do maybe like an elevation shot like this. So we can render like this, like it looks in the city. Okay. And let me, so, oops, panel came down here. Go back to exit out of the. Okay, so let me do another one here. So I'm gonna do it. Oops, sorry, not this was the wrong one. Let me go back to my boards. Back one we're using. Okay, so like now, for example, let me go back here. We'll look. All right, so this was one view, but now let's do it from the exterior. So same thing, I have the viewport open. I'm gonna go hit capture, and it's gonna load my image from the viewport. And then let's send it back to a model. Let's try Flux. Flux is also kind of good. And I'm just gonna say render this model, this model in an urban street landscape, I don't know, in Mexico City, include people walking and trees and vegetation around. All right, let's see what that does. I'm just gonna hit generate. Yes, this is a custom like Nano Banana UI that we're developing. It's still beta version, so we're using it more like this at the moment. But this will come with some extra features like being able to connect. So like let's say for example, I take a shot of this view. It's gonna save like the camera's coordinates, so you can project back the image onto the 3D view in Rhino. And there's gonna be like some other kind of like advanced features, but that's still kind of like a work in progress. Okay, so here it is. Like this is a little bit of that. It's another rendering here. Okay, so you can do something like that. Let me see if I open this. So this is kind of like what I was saying, like you would be able to have, um, for example, like this is like a mini UI for Nano Banana. Capture it, and then it's going to be able to save the viewport and so forth. Okay, so that's, yeah, and then you get pretty much all the other functionality that it's in the canvas, but you'll be able to use it inside Rhino, and it all links back to the web page. So you have access to everything also on the web page. Cool. All right, guys, I think this is the end. Thank you so much for joining. If you have any questions, any feedback, send us a message, uh, either on Instagram. You can check out xFigura's Instagram. Um, you can check out my Instagram as well. Send us a message. If you have any questions about the about xFigura, the platform. Do you have any use cases that maybe you think would be a good feature? Check it out. Let us know. We're happy. Also, if you do cool stuff with it, tag me on Diffusion Architecture. And if you have some cool generations, we'll repost them on Diffusion Architecture as well. So yeah, feel free to reach out. Thank you again, guys, for joining. I see George is here, our CEO, so he dropped the code 30% off on the starter pack. So if you guys want to try, check it out. It's only available to you guys who joined the workshop.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the secret codes. Really amazing stuff that you guys are building. And I think it's going to benefit a lot of people and advance a lot of people's workflows that take the time to get into it. And cool to see like where the industry is going and the tools of the trade.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much, Mike, for hosting it as well. Thank you to everybody that participated as well. And we're excited.
Yeah, yeah. Well, thank you everyone who joined, and you'll get an email about the recording uh, by tomorrow once the recording is processed by Zoom and all that. So, and yeah, make sure you follow these guys and keep up with the software and advances in the technology of our industries. So, thank you everyone. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Have a good rest of the day.
You too.
Cheers.
Bye.